Welcome to TSAT. Today I am going to discuss a topic in geography regarding Indian physiography. So, as far as physiography is considered, physiography of an area is the outcome of structure, process and the stage of development. So, what do you mean by this? Physiography is a physical feature like a mountain or a plateau or a plain, etc. So, this is a structure. When you relatively compare with the structure of a mountain, the shape of a mountain or a plateau of a mountain or a plain, there is a difference in the shape and structure. So, process. The process involved in the formation of this structure varies. For example, the Deccan Plateau is the resultant of the formation of solidification of lava. So, it is a lava plateau. So, for example, the Indo-Gangetic plain, the process which is responsible for the formation of the Indo-Gangetic plain is the process of deposition of alluvium by the river systems like the Ganges and the Indus river systems are responsible for the formation of these plains. For example, take the case of the great Himalayan ranges. So, these have been formed because of the process of the folding of the crust. So, the process involved in the formation of a physical features vary. One is the solidification of lava, the second is the deposition of alluvium because of the weathering and erosional activity, and the other is the great Himalayan ranges because of the phenomena of the folding of the crust. So, the process is different in terms of the formation of different kinds of physical features and the stage of development. So, there are certain stages in the development of these physical features. All of a sudden, a valley will not be formed. A valley will be formed because of a gradual cutting of the river. The mountain is being cut by the river gradually. So, sometimes the folding upliftment happens through a gradual process in stages. So, whether it is a deposition or a solidification or the folded mountains or any kind of block mountains, there are certain stages in the process of the formation of these physical features. So, in this context, India has got certain physical features. So, broadly, India has got different kinds of physical features like the mountain regions, the plateau region, the plain regions, the coastal plains, the islands, etc. So, in this context, I am going to discuss with you a physical feature by feature, projecting you the essential maps required to you, and I will be discussing the physiographic divisions of India. So, in this context, for example, take the case of India. The India initially when it has been formed, it is not in contact with Eurasia initially. It is the resultant of drifting from the great continent from Gondwana. So, Gondwana itself has been formed from Pangaea. So, in this context, to make you understand what am I speaking. So, the configuration of the continents which have been projected to you around 225 million years ago, this Pangaea is a mega continent from which Panthalassa and the Gondwana have been formed. Panthalassa is otherwise also known as Laurasia. So, in this process, what happened is because of plate tectonics and the drifting of plates because of the semi-solid layer available beneath the lithosphere, the plates have been drifted apart. This led to the movement of the Indian plate to the north from the southern hemisphere. So, this is the condition of India during 150 million years, it is in the southern hemisphere. During 100 million years, it is in southern hemisphere. Today, it has been drifted to the northern hemisphere in collision with the Eurasian plate. So, in this process of drifting, what happened is there is a gradual change or pressure being built up between the Indian plate and the Eurasian plate. In this process, the northwestern part has collided with the Tibetan plateau region, led to the formation of the folded mountain parts in this region. Later, the Indian plate has been moved in an anti-clockwise direction and led to the formation of the folded mountain, the longest and the highest folded mountain chain in the world. So, The longest is in the South America. So, this is the highest mountain chain in the world. The Indian physiographic divisions are in these divided into these different ways. The northern and the northeastern mountain regions, the northern plains, the peninsular plateau, the Indian desert and the coastal plains. These are the and the island regions. These are the broad ways how an Indian physiographic division is Indian physiography is being divided into. So, as far as the mountain ranges are considered, these are the folded mountain ranges have got different ranges. So, for example, has been projected to you, you have got the greater Himalayas, the highest ranges running across is one of the range. So, there are many ranges, 3 ranges, especially the middle Himalayas, the greater Himalayas are also known as Himadris, the middle Himalayas are known as Himachals and the lower one are known as the Shivaliks. So, these are the 3 different main ranges running in this direction, in this orientation from northwest to almost all in a southeast orientation. So, there are certain fracture zones or suture zones between these mountain ranges. So, apart from these ranges, there are certain mountain ranges existing in the northwestern part of Jammu and Kashmir region like the Karakoram, Ladakh, Jaskar, the Pir Panjals. There are certain ranges existing here, and this is known as the Pamir Knot, which is connecting to different ranges in the world, is an important area in the case of objective bits, which is located here. In this context, the division, we need to know how these mountains have been divided longitudinally into east or northwest to southeast direction, and in one way from east to west or west to east, how they have been divided. The Kashmir Himalayas, the Himachal Pradesh Himalayas, the Kumaon Himalayas, the Nepal, Bhutan and the eastern Himalayas. So, even in terms of the division of Himalayas, Himalayas are also being divided in these orientation from east to west. And so, these are the different divisions while you are explaining according to the context required. Kumaon Himalayas, the Punjab Himalayas, the Nepal Himalayas and the Assam Himalayas are the eastern Himalayas. So, in this process of upliftment, it has got many different stages. The Indian plate has collided at the Ladakh region. After that, after 60 million years ago, northwestern part of India plate hit Eurasian plate, led to the formation of a Potwar Plateau, which is in the Pakistan region. Stage 3 led to the formation of Tethys Himalayas. So, what happened is, in this stage 3, for example, you can observe the differences here. For example, what happened is, there is a sea existing between Eurasian plate and Indian plate. This sea is known as Tethys, the Tethyan Sea, the blue color, the Tethyan Himalayas is the next stage. So, what happened is, the base of the Tethys Sea is being uplifted to form Tethyan Himalayas, because in this process of movement of the Indian plate to the north, the oceanic crust has also been folded to form the Himalayas, which is known as Tethyan Himalayas. So, that is the third stage. Next, in the fourth stage, it has led to the formation of main central thrust. So, main central thrust, so this is where the main central thrust has been formed. So, in the map being projected to you, the main central thrust is being identified here with the kind of pointed marks here. You can see these dark pointed marks. In this stage, it has led to the main central thrust is a kind of fault zone or a fracture zone between different ranges of the great mountain ranges of Himalayas. These fracture zones have been formed because of the pressure and because of the folding of the crust itself when in the process of upliftment, and it also led to the formation of the main boundary fault here at this and near the Shivaliks. So, in this process of upliftment, it has led not only to the formation of folded mountain chains, it has also led to the formation of faults longitudinally across the length of the mountain ranges known as the main central thrust, and the main boundary fault line was created in stage 4. This is how the existing configuration of the continents have been formed because of the drift of the continents. In the 5th stage, it has led to the formation of shivaliks. It has led to the formation of shivaliks. The shivaliks are the southernmost ranges which have been formed. So here with formation of greater and lesser Himalayas, forfeited was created. The foothills of these mountains were deposition, and further compression led to the formation of shivaliks. So what happened is the rivers which are flowing have deposited a larger rocky materials, and led by the compression activity led to the formation of these mountain range known as shivaliks. Mountains and a new fault line has been created known as the Himalayan frontal fault. So here this is the region we are talking about, the least region, the shivaliks are at the south. So this is the 5th stage. And Trans-Himalayas. The Trans-Himalayas is around 1600 kilometers. The mountain ranges extending in a west-east direction parallel to the main Himalayan ranges. So here in this case of this Trans-Himalayas, see this Trans-Himalayas which is being given in a red mark zone. These are the Himalayas which are to the north, which are being described as Trans-Himalayas. The Tethyan Himalayas, they are formed because of the compression of sediments in Tspsc. So this is how the material of the ocean bottom is being used to construct the Tethyan Himalayas because of the compression of the lithosphere of the crust. So these are the ranges present here in this region. Jalskar and Kailas are some of the important ranges present in the Tethyan Himalayas. So the main Himalayas have got an average height around more than 5000 kilometers. The characteristics of this is it has got a very huge extent of snowfields filled with glaciers. Crystalline, igneous and metamorphic rocks are present in this region, and this region has got many different passes which are being asked in objective bits. Where do we have these passes like Zojila, Baralachla, Shipkila, so Niti Pass, so Sikkim, so these are the Nathulal, so these are the different kinds of passes which are found in these Himalayan zones where can be asked in the objective bits. For example, see these kind of peaks, and these are the different kinds of passes which are important in terms of map location, match the following, identifying, and you must be able to know when an objective bit is asked whether it is in the Jammu and Kashmir Himalayas or in the Himachal Pradesh region or the eastern Himalayan region or the Sikkim region, to identify, because these passes are important because these are historically also important because through these passes invasions have happened. For example, the Khyber Pass is an important one, the Bolan Pass, you have got these different kinds of passes, Zojila Pass, Pir Panjal, Banihal Pass. So these are certain important passes, Shipkila. These are very important passes which are essential for answering certain questions. So noting down these passes, their geographical location and their importance. It is not, these passes have got not only geographical importance, these passes have got even the historical importance. That is the reason why in these two contexts, these passes are very important to you. So lesser Himalayas. Lesser Himalayas have got an average height extending 1300, more than 1300 meters. Very strongly, it is not 5000 kilometers, 5000 meters it is, 1300 meters. So very strongly folded and complicated structures. Important ranges are Dholudar, Pir Panjal, Nanga Parbat, Mussoorie. So these are some of the important ranges of lesser Himalayan region. So along the slopes, small pastures are found called margs. So the small pastures in these regions are known as marg. Next longitudinal layer is Shivalix. This is not a continuous range. It also called as the outer Himalayas. In the north, it has a valley called Doon in the west and Daur in the east. They are known as Dehradun and Pallidun. So these are some important areas which can be asked in the questions, the Dehradun and Pallidun. So this has got largely fossiliferous sedimentary rocks like sandstones and rocks. Fossiliferous means because they are sedimentary rocks, there is possibility of existence of certain fossils. On the basis of the relief, alignment of ranges and other geomorphological features, the Himalayas can be divided into the following subdivisions: the Kashmir or Northwestern Himalayas, Uttarakhand Himalayas, Sikkim Himalayas, Arunachal Himalayas, and Eastern Hill and Mountain Himalayas. So a question can be asked in any way, so that on this basis you must be able to answer a question being given. So for example, Kumaon Himalayas, there might be a question where you may get confused what Kumaon Himalayas means. So after Kashmir Himalayas, you have got these Kumaon Himalayas. So in the Kashmir Himalayas, you have got the ranges like Karakoram, Ladakh, Jaskar and Pir Panjals. So between the Great Himalayas and the Pir Panjal ranges lies the world famous valley of Kashmir, and the famous Dal Lake is present in this region. So Dal Lake can be asked as a question where this is located. And Siachen, the world's highest battlefield, the Siachen at the Siachen Glacier is also present in this region. So in this region, you have got some of the important fresh lakes, freshwater lakes, the Dal and the Vular, and the saltwater lakes such as Pongang Tso are some of the examples of saltwater lakes. So the Kashmir Himalayas are also famous for Karewa formations, which are useful for the cultivation of saffron. Saffron is a variant of saffron, a local variety of saffron. Some of the important passes of the region are Zojila and on the greater Himalayas. So Kewar means a depositions formed by the glacial depositions which contain certain boulders and clay which can be used for the purpose of agriculture and cultivation. It is present in the Kashmir region, which is the resultant of glacial deposits, which is feasible for cultivation like saffron, a locally named saffron. So these are the different regions of Himalayas, the Darjeeling and the Sikkim Himalayas. Next, the Arunachal Himalayas extends between Bhutan Himalayas and the Dipu Pass in the east. So these Himalayas, through this region in the plain region of Brahmaputra in the Assam, the Brahmaputra flows through these deeper gorges after crossing Namcha Barwa. In this region, ethnic tribal communities live in this region, like Mishmi, Nagas live in this region, and they do jhum cultivation. Jhum cultivation is otherwise also known as shifting cultivation or slash and burn cultivation. So these are part of the Himalayan mountain systems having their general alignment from the north to south directions. They are known as different local names. So what happened here is, in the case of northeastern states, the orientation of Himalayas has changed to north to south direction. So in these different regions, the mountains are being called with different names like Patkaibum, Naga Hills, Mishmi Hills, and south by Mizo and Lucia Hills. So these Himalayas change their orientation to north and south in the northeastern India. So in the case of Mizoram, which is also known as Molasses Basin, which is made up of soft unconsolidated deposits. So, that is the reason why, because of unconsolidated nature in the Mizoram, this region is also known as molasses basin, having lakes like Loktak are some of the important lakes in this northeast Indian region in the Himalayas. Next is the Great Plain region. The Great Plain region is the outcome of alluvial deposits brought from river originated in the Himalayas and peninsular region. So, the Great Plain regions extending up to 3,200 kilometers from the east to the west. The Great Plains are remarkably homogeneous with little variation in relief features of hundreds of kilometers. So, a plain generally, as I have discussed in the previous session, which does not have any undulations, a minimum undulations with a plain surface is known as a plain, having the elevation when relatively compared with the surrounding regions is less, with the different features like bluffs, levees, ravines and cols. So, these are, for example, ravines are badland topography where when because of the weathering and erosion, when there is a longitudinal deep small valley like features when they have been formed, a resultant of weathering and erosion is known as ravines. So, these kind of structures are found in these regions. So, the Great Plain regions are being divided into these different regions. So, for example, the Rajasthan Plain regions, the Yamuna Plain regions, Satluj-Yamuna Plain regions, the Ganga Plain regions, the UP-Bihar are drained by the Yamuna and the Ganga river systems, and the plains in the Assam by the Brahmaputra and the Bengal Plain here. So, these are the different regions or the divisions of the Great Plain regions of India, which is the resultant of the depositional activity of the great river systems like the Indus, the Ganges and the Brahmaputra. So, here the Yamuna plains and the Rajasthan plains, here there is a division being made by the Aravalis to the west and east to the Ganga plains of UP-Bihar plains. Next is the Babbar plains. Babbar is a narrow belt range between 8 to 10 kilometers parallel to the Shivaliks. So, the Babbar is a larger boulder deposits at the foothills of Shivaliks. Along the length of the Shivaliks is Babbar. So, in the Babbar is not feasible for cultivation because of larger boulder rocky nature, unavailability of soil, the soil is less, only larger trees can survive in this region and streams disappear in this Babbar region. The next is the Terai Plain region. When you relatively compare with the Terai Plain region and the Babbar region, Terai Plain region has got soft soil deposits, and the streams which have been disappeared in the Babbar region reappear in the Terai region, which is a marshy region which is feasible for cultivation. So, it contains of fine silt and sand, fine silt and alluvium. South of Babbar, marshy tract reappears and this region is called Terai. So, always you remember that Terai is to the south of Babbar. This has a luxurious growth of natural vegetation and houses a varied wildlife. In UP, these forests are cleared to grow sugarcane, rice and wheat. So, Terai is feasible for cultivation, whereas Babbar is not. Next is Bangar. It represents the upper land forms by the older alluvium. So, always remember that Bangar has got older alluvium, which is rich in calcium called concur. So, the important aspect of Bangar is it is an older alluvium at the banks of the river, and it is rich in calcium called khadar. The main constituent of Bangar is clay, which is at places given way to loam and sandy loam. In dry areas, presence of saline and alkaline efflorescence known as rhea. So, In dry areas, this is known as, next is 𝗂𝗃 plains. Younger alluvium of floodplains if the river is called 𝗂𝗃. So, when the alluvium deposits are younger, it is known as 𝗂𝗃. So, in the case of 𝗂𝗃 plains, younger alluvium is known as 𝗂𝗃. Its alluvium is light in color and poor in calcareous matter. So, that is the basic difference between 𝗂𝗃 and Bangar. In the case of Bangar, it is older alluvium. In the case of 𝗂𝗃, it is newer alluvium or younger alluvium. Next is the delta plains. It is an extension of 𝗂𝗃 plains. Here uplands are called 𝗧𝗏 and marshy lands are called 𝗵𝗠s. So, in the case of Rajasthan plains, the Rajasthan plains include Marustali and Rajasthan Bagar areas to the west of Aravallis. So, here Marustali, it is known as Marustali because it is there you experience a continuous shifting sand dunes. That is the reason why this place is being described as Marustali. So, this has been originated because of the upliftment of the marine or ocean bottom. That is the reason why in this region you find certain salt lakes in this region. So, for example, the Luni river flows through this region. So, the Luni at the upper course it is sweet, by the time it goes to the lower course it becomes brackish waters because of the impact of the salt present in the rocky regions. Next is the Ganga plains. They extend from Yamuna river in the west to Bangladesh. It is divided into upper Ganga plains and the lower Ganga plains and the middle Ganga plains. This region has a Ganga, Yamuna, Doab. So, a Doab is a region between two tributaries or river which is the resultant of the deposition of the alluvium and which is considered to be more fertile for agriculture. It is formed by the subduction of 𝗳𝗏𝗃 gap. So, this is formed by the subduction of 𝗳𝗏𝗃 gap means from the Chota Nagpur region, from the Bengal region, when you relatively compare between the Assam region, the Ganga river system which flows has deposited certain alluvium. So, to the east of the region and to the northeast of this peninsular plateau region, there is a deposition being made by these river systems dividing these two regions. It is formed by subduction of 𝗳𝗏 and 𝗂𝗃 gap, which is being described as 𝗳𝗏 and 𝗂𝗃 gap in the Meghalaya region. So, this is how this is the region we are talking about, where the Ganga plains are being formed by the depositional activity formed by the rivers from the Himalayan regions and the peninsular region, resulted in the formation of the Great Plain regions. Thank you. In the next episode, we shall meet in a next topic discussing about the physiography of India.